Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Saturday, the 22nd of December. Robert Murray McShane has us reading Nehemiah chapter 12, which talks about the people gathering and worshipping on the walls of Jerusalem. And I'm struck by the fact that in verse 43, we read, "On that day they offered great sacrifices, rejoicing, because God had given them great joy. The women and children also rejoiced. The sound of rejoicing in Jerusalem could be heard far away." So here's the community gathering and great joy, and everybody's sharing in this joy, and it's quite public and absolutely obvious that there's rejoicing. And I noted that God had given them great joy. And yet at the same time, a little earlier in the chapter, we read in verse 27, "At the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, the Levites were sought out from where they lived and were brought to Jerusalem to celebrate." They hadn't come because they wanted to. This wasn't a voluntary, let's all gather together. They were sought out. And when the governor sends a message saying, "You'd better come to Jerusalem," they go. Likewise, we're told that the musicians also were brought together from the region around Jerusalem. They'd all been living in different cities, and they were brought to Jerusalem. And one can imagine that they were saying, "I've got so much stuff to do. I'm still busy rebuilding my house after the exile, and the well needs attending, and the sheep, and to take this time off." And it wasn't just a morning. This is probably days and days and days. I've got better things to do. And I'm not sure how many were brought from where they lived with great joy and open hearts. But it struck me that that's how life is, and that's certainly how the church operates, and that's how worship works. You end up doing things because you must. That's an obligation almost. You go to church, and if one only went to church when you felt like it, when you had the joy, you'd probably go once or twice and then skip a week or two and then skip a month or two, and then that'd be it. Whereas to have the discipline of going and just doing what you need to do, and morning quiet times, sort of the number of times I've gone to the scriptures because I've had to. It's one of the requirements. You've got to say morning prayer as a priest. You've got to say evening prayer. You do this because you must. But as you do it, you encounter God. And the people were brought possibly against their will, really. They were forced to be there by the governor. But on that day, they rejoiced, rejoicing because God had given them great joy. And as you come together, as you begin rejoicing, God just fills you with joy. And so it's a little bit of discipline, and God makes up the rest. So be encouraged in your walk with God, that it's not always just going to be automatically what one wants to do. But as one does what one must do, God steps in and gives us the joy so that we may rejoice greatly before him. Rejoice and be blessed.